Okay, I'm going to begin. I wrote in our weekly email, someone said, Ariana, hi, Roya. Hi. And I can hear my voice in the other room because I'm at my mother-in-law's and she's listening to me in the other room. How cute is that? I love her, but I don't see her name on here. I'm sure it's there though. All right, everybody in, I think. So in the email from Sunday, the Sunday's email, we talk about these two main currents in this earth experience. Okay. So there's one current, we'll just say, just to simplify this conversation, there's one current that moves up towards source, towards remembering, towards the light, towards oneness, towards love. And then there's another current that moves down. And that current is the current of separation, of forgetfulness, of control, of fear. And most of us kind of swim between these two currents, right? And we're swimming between the currents and sometimes we spend more time, maybe sometimes in the destructive current, but then the realization that we're in that can be a quantum leap into the unity, love current, oneness current. Sometimes people refer to this as the Christ current, where this would be the Christ current and this would be the Antichrist current. And when we use the word Christ, we're not talking, it's not connected to a religion. Christ consciousness is not connected to a religion. It infers a consciousness of oneness, okay, of really remembering the power of who we are as divine creators. And that Jesus just so happened to be able to tune into that consciousness when he was here on earth. And so if we have these two streams, we'll call it the Christ stream, the Antichrist stream. Um, there are some souls who choose to stay aligned to this negative stream, okay, to this more separation stream. And then there are other souls who start to get that deep calling within them to return, to remember the truth of who we are as divine beings, and we start moving into this stream. And that's part of this big split that's happening. Okay. And it doesn't mean that it's a perfect science where you can't still go back and forth. But what happens is that the more you develop the heart, right? And the heart is like a tuning fork, bringing us into the consciousness of oneness, the more you will be aware of when you start to step into that stream of separation and say, no, 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 I don't want to feed that. Or maybe you do, right? And then maybe you swim in it for a little bit, then you get pretty, burnout. And, that stream, when we talk about being hungry, everybody in that stream is hungry because they have forgotten how to source their own energy, right? So those souls who kind of move into that downward stream, they have to take their energy from other beings. And so they're perpetually hungry. And then those of us who are starting to migrate into this positive oriented stream, we start remembering that we're divine and we start being able to source and charge our own energy from within, from the remembering of that divine light. So, which one sounds more fun? So one thing that's really interesting, which is also a build from last week, is we talked about not having the capability to receive, okay? And that it's not necessarily that we are, we're oriented to being selfish. Well, we are when we're stuck in cycles of survival because we have to put ourselves first in order to survive. But the truth is that through past experience, we have started to create a protective layer around our heart chakra that blocks our capability to receive. So we might have, a lot of abundance coming into our life or blessings, and we're not able to fully receive them. And so one thing that's interesting is that us as divine creators, even when we're not as consciously creating, we're only receiving what we can receive. So life might be sending us, a lot, but we're not able to hold it. And that's also connected to our sense of self-worth. Okay. Interestingly, when we start making the choice to step more into that positive stream, that love stream, we'll call it, when we start moving more into that, making choices that serve that stream, right? And serve oneness, serve unity, that also starts to awaken our self-worth. And there's nothing more damaging to our self-esteem than when we have forgotten that we are divine. And so when we start awakening that self-worth, we start awakening and strengthening the capability to receive. Okay. So I'm going to ask you all one simple question, which is think about something that you're trying to call into your life, something that you may want or something that you feel would be, just very nourishing and nurturing to you and to your soul and to your life's journey. And think about that for a moment. And then we ask ourselves this question, do we feel worthy of that? And more times than not, we're going to get a no, that I actually don't feel worthy for this thing that I'm calling in. And then what happens is because we don't hold the worthiness for whatever it is, we actually we're incapable of receiving it. So someone just wrote, don't mean to interrupt, but maybe others resonate with this and goes with what you say. Feeling pulled away from materialism from a product-based business and feels like I'm being moved towards something I can't see yet. And there's only faith and grounding that helps. It is a candle in the fog moment. Can't seem to receive clarity even though I let go. Thank you for sharing that, Corey. It's really also interesting because the more that we kind of move into faith and trust and unlocking the memory of who we are, the more that our path becomes unclear. And we've talked about this before. That serves a couple of purposes. One, it's rewiring us to live in the present moment, to get out of the future, because the future doesn't exist. We're drawing certain potentials to us based on whatever we're holding in our field today. And so when we start trusting that it's like, oh, well, what am I holding in my field today, right? And how can I get here in the now and continue bringing harmony and coherence and love and peace into my field? Because then that starts drawing to me more fulfilling timelines. And then we start trusting that. So we don't need to know the details too much because we start knowing we're in that stream or calling to us fulfilling timelines that are going to bring meaning and depth and fulfillment, right? And so when we want to start expanding, part of the journey, part of awakening is being okay with the unknown so that we can get out of what we're in right now, which is a lot of conditioned, fixed, programmed lifestyles, right? That most of us, until we start awakening, are living unconsciously. When we start to strengthen our consciousness and our awareness, we have to practice letting go because that allows us to move into the unknown and to be led and guided. So today we're going to not only are we going to do heart coherence, right? So bringing our attention to our heart, we're going to also say some affirmations that strengthen our sense of worth, okay? And that's also we talk about the beautiful offerings we can bring the heart. Gratitude is a beautiful offering that starts to open up the heart, activate the heart. Also, offerings of self-worthiness, of self-love. Forgiveness is also a beautiful heart activator. And it gets us into that field of one. And when we start moving into that field of one, we also start to understand that nothing, like it starts to really click that nothing is outside of us. Nothing's outside of us. And so when we start unlocking that consciousness, then we move out of lack. We move out of being hungry. And so then the things that we're calling into our life are really serving us as higher consciousness beings that tie into our own purpose, but also the purpose of lifting the consciousness on the planet. So it kind of goes hand in hand because we start mirroring the divine. We start, we become ambassadors, we become aspects of the divine here on earth. Okay, so let's begin. You see a same, it seems like you're also in an in-between moment. It's the same for me. I'm currently losing everything I knew, the old life in exchange for the new one, which I cannot see yet. The universe really forces us to let go sometimes. It's a rebirth and a practice for faith and remembering, but it is incredibly hard. You're not alone in this. Thank you, Sophie. Thank you for sharing, and you're not alone either. I love that concept of being an ambassador for the new earth. Yep, me too. I'm here with all of you, also moving into the unknown, not having, I don't see a month out. So, and I've started that used to make me really anxious. And then I'm like, I stopped letting go of needing to know exactly the details of how things are going to unfold. And I will say that it has been such a rewarding practice because my life keeps getting more fulfilling. And I keep getting more authentic. And I see that all with all of you too. So so let's start to bring our awareness in. Hmm. And let's just pause in silence for a few moments as we start redirecting our attention from out there and into here, into our inner sanctuary, our inner world. Holding the intention to start slowing down the thinking mind. As we slow it down, we start to slowly move into the observer, the noticer, the awareness. And as we start to shift beyond our thoughts, we start to move into timelessness. The thoughts are what keeps us in time, right? The thoughts are always attached to time. And so when we can just take a break from the thoughts, we move beyond time, which is the most present we can become, into that eternal present moment. And if we could all remember that it's this moment, this eternal present moment that is creating our reality, then what are we holding here? And so when we start to come in just to observe, we also start to bring in more light, conscious light into our inner world. We start to turn our lights on. And when we turn our lights on, whatever's not true starts to arise, to clear. And can we stand in presence and observe what arises without attaching to it, without identifying with it? So, for instance, if there is sadness, there is unease, there is discomfort, we observe. I feel the sadness because feeling it confronts it. It then continues its journey as energy in motion, emotion. by feeling it, by not denying its existence. But there's a difference between I feel sad and I am sad. The more we move into that upward stream of consciousness, the more potent our words become. I feel versus I am. Knowing that our words create intentions. And so let's bring our awareness down towards the ground. And let's all just focus on the bottoms of our feet, just noticing. When I invite us to focus on the bottoms of our feet, it's just to give our attention a landing place. And so when you focus here, it's really about noticing. Noticing the temperature on your feet. Maybe there's a sock or a fabric against the sole of your foot. Maybe you notice tingling, pulsating, just noticing. We practice noticing without then following thoughts. And so if you get pulled into your thinking mind, then you as the noticer, the observer, notice, oh, I'm thinking. You could just even label it that I'm thinking. Don't judge it, because the moment we judge, we move back into the ego. We're no longer in our greater awareness. And so when we notice we're thinking, then we just simply redirect. And that is the power of becoming the observer, of practicing being the observer, because the observer is what gives you choice. I can choose something different right now than thinking. I can now direct my attention down towards my feet. Wherever you bring your attention, the rest of your energy follows. And so right now we are inviting your spirit, and all of your energy to ground, to come in deep into your body, into your field, all the way down. You notice a nice sigh wants to come through, allow it. That's always a nice way that we start to just drop in even more, sometimes through those sighs of surrender. Just noticing if there's any tension you're holding in your physical body, and just through noticing it, you start to melt it away. And also being aware now that you've started to bring more consciousness into your body and into your field, you notice, can you sense, just sense, you don't have to see it, you can feel it. Do you feel more light within you? Can you observe that? And if you can't, can you be okay without judging yourself? Just information. It's practicing observing without judging. Beautiful. And so let's call in our ring of light. Angels, guides, guardians of the light, my family of light. Can you please make a beautiful, strong ring around me? And I will pause in the middle and breathe and let go of expectation. Just come even deeper into this eternal present moment and just sense this vibration around me of these beautiful beings of light. Holding a moment of gratitude for being supported and surrounded in love. I receive the love of my angels. I am open to receive. I am open to receive the love from my spirit guides. I am open to receive the love from my ancestors of the light. I am open to receive all the love in this universe that is so benevolently offered to each one of us. I receive. And just breathe into this, strengthening our vessels to be able to receive more. Continuing to feel the presence of your angels and guides around you, reminding you that you are not alone. They are holding your hand as you step into the unknown, as you're in this liminal period of your life where you're letting go of your old ways of being to be more authentically you, learning to be okay with not needing to know how exactly that looks, learning to understand that the most important work we can be doing is just to become more present in our day-to-day lives. Because the more present we become, the clearer our vessel becomes. And when our vessel is clear, we just naturally align to our strongest timelines. Isn't that interesting how simple that is? Yet it's very difficult for many of us to become more present throughout the day. And so may we all hold the intention right now and even ask our angels and guides, please help me, or please support me in becoming even more present throughout the day, holding more levity, more lightness, more joy, even maybe when I'm doing something I don't care to do. Can I bring levity into that? Lightness, joy. Bringing our hearts into this conversation. So I invite all of us right now to breathe into your heart. And as we breathe into the heart, let's just melt away another layer of our human character, our human personality. As soon as we start melting away those limitations, those limiting beliefs, the conditioned emotional responses, our identity, we start to then feel the vastness of who we are, more of the truth of who we are. And so as we dissolve the human character, we dissolve our name, our age, and we start to then breathe into the heart. This is how we merge our consciousness with the heart chakra. Just feeling oneness with the heart, no separation. And as the tuning fork that it is, the heart starts to bring your whole being into oneness, into harmony, into coherence. And just breathe here. As you breathe here, we bring through the attunement. And so each one of us is receiving a beautiful frequency right now. And this frequency comes to each one of us as an offering from the angelic realm. It's an invitation to rise to meet it. And so there's nothing to do other than breathe And we may feel a subtle shift as our vibration continues to increase, as this specific frequency knows exactly how to bring each one of us into our own divine expression, our own divine frequency that merges with the human frequency into harmony and oneness. Breathing here. Let's just quickly do peacock feathers. So if you feel any tightness in your auric field, just expand your feathers. Just notice the light, the inner light within you, just radiating out, filling your body and surrounding you completely in your own light, in your own love, filling your own cup. And the stronger your vessel becomes with a knowing of who you are, with a truth of who you are, the stronger that vessel is, the more full of light it is, the more you show up. And whatever spills over is what you bring to the world, to those in your orbit. And what spills over are codes of awakening, of remembering, without forcing, without convincing anybody. You just stand in your magnificence, in your glory, in your divine glory. And that is enough to awaken others because it feels familiar. There's something within you that feels familiar, and it starts to stir within them their own remembering. And so I invite each one of us right now to feel our human form infused with our divine essence. And maybe you can see your form, both human and divine, standing in front of a path. And may this path be beautifully, gorgeously, magnificently golden. This golden path of fulfillment, of truth, of love. And this is where we are all standing in front of right now, not needing to know exactly where it goes, but just understanding that we are stepping more and more into it. And so just feel you in coherence, standing in front of this beautiful path and feeling at ease, just knowing that you're walking on it with other earth beings, as well as with your spirit team. And then let's move our awareness back to our breath as we take a nice deep breath in and breathe out. So let's bring our one hand to the belly, one hand to the heart, connect to the physical body so that you're connecting to all layers of you, all dimensions of you, all in one, in integration and in harmony. So let's take one more breath in through the belly. And then let's exhale out. Then we bring our awareness back in. And we hold these words in our awareness. And so it is. And so it is.